What are the 5 main layers of Earth's atmosphere, from lowest to highest?
Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere.
In which layer of the atmosphere does most weather occur?
The troposphere, which extends from the surface to about 12 kilometers altitude.
What is the tropopause?
The boundary between the troposphere and the stratosphere, where temperature stops decreasing with altitude.
Why is the stratosphere important for life on Earth?
It contains the ozone layer, which absorbs most of the sun's harmful ultraviolet (UV) radiation.
What happens to temperature in the mesosphere as altitude increases?
Temperature decreases with altitude, making it the coldest layer of the atmosphere, down to about -90 degrees Celsius.
What is the primary composition of Earth's atmosphere?
Approximately 78% nitrogen (N2), 21% oxygen (O2), and 1% other gases including argon and CO2.
What causes wind?
Differences in air pressure caused by uneven heating of Earth's surface. Air moves from high pressure to low pressure areas.
What is the Coriolis effect?
The deflection of moving air and water, due to Earth's rotation, rightward in the northern hemisphere and leftward in the southern hemisphere.
What are the 3 main global wind belts?
Trade winds 0 to 30 degrees, westerlies 30 to 60 degrees, and polar easterlies 60 to 90 degrees.
What is a front in meteorology?
A boundary between 2 air masses of different temperature and humidity, e.g., cold front, warm front, stationary front.
How does a cold front form and what weather does it bring?
A cold air mass pushes under a warm air mass, causing rapid uplift. It often brings thunderstorms, heavy rain, and a sharp temperature drop.
What is an air mass?
A large body of air with relatively uniform temperature and humidity characteristics, acquired from the region where it forms.
What is the difference between weather and climate?
Weather is the short-term state of the atmosphere. Climate is the long-term average of weather patterns over 30-plus years.
Name the 5 major climate zones in the Köppen classification system.
Tropical, A, dry, B, temperate, C, continental, D, and polar, E.
What characterizes a tropical climate zone?
High temperatures year-round, average greater than 18 degrees Celsius every month, and significant rainfall, supporting rainforests and savannas.
What defines an arid, dry, climate zone?
Evaporation exceeds precipitation, found in deserts and semi-arid steppes with sparse vegetation.
What is a Mediterranean climate?
A temperate climate with dry, hot summers and mild, wet winters, found in regions like southern Europe and California.
How does continental climate differ from oceanic climate?
Continental climates have larger temperature extremes between seasons because land heats/cools faster than water.
What factors influence a region's climate?
Latitude, altitude, proximity to oceans, ocean currents, prevailing winds, and topography.
What is the greenhouse effect?
A natural process where certain atmospheric gases trap outgoing infrared radiation, warming Earth's surface above what it would be otherwise.
Name 4 major greenhouse gases.
Carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, CH4, nitrous oxide, N2O, and water vapor, H2O.
Why is CO2 considered the most important anthropogenic greenhouse gas?
Because of the large volume emitted by burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial processes, and its long atmospheric lifetime.
What is the difference between the natural and enhanced greenhouse effect?
The natural greenhouse effect keeps Earth habitable, 15 degrees C average. The enhanced effect is the additional warming from human-produced greenhouse gases.
How does methane compare to CO2 as a greenhouse gas?
Methane is about 80 times more potent than CO2 over a 20-year period. but has a shorter atmospheric lifetime, 12 years.
What is radiative forcing?
The difference between incoming solar energy and outgoing energy radiated back to space. A positive value means net warming.
What is global warming?
The long-term increase in Earth's average surface temperature, primarily due to human emissions of greenhouse gases since the Industrial Revolution.
By how much has Earth's average temperature risen since pre-industrial times?
Approximately 1.1 to 1.2 degrees Celsius as of the early 2020s.
What is the primary human activity driving global warming?
The burning of fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, for energy, transportation, and industry.
How do ice cores help scientists study past climates?
Trapped air bubbles in ice cores preserve ancient atmospheric gas concentrations, allowing measurement of CO2 and temperature over hundreds of thousands of years.
What is a climate feedback loop? Give an example.
A process that amplifies or dampens warming, e.g., ice albedo feedback. Melting ice exposes darker surfaces that absorb more heat, causing further warming.
What is climate sensitivity?
The amount of global warming expected from a doubling of atmospheric CO2 concentration, estimated at 2.5 to 4 degrees Celsius.
What are the main steps of the carbon cycle?
Carbon moves through the atmosphere, biosphere, oceans, and geosphere via photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, ocean absorption, and fossil fuel formation/combustion.
What role do oceans play in the carbon cycle?
Oceans act as a major carbon sink, absorbing about 25 to 30% of human-emitted CO2, but this causes ocean acidification.
What is a carbon sink?
A natural or artificial reservoir that absorbs more carbon than it releases, such as forests, oceans, and soil.
What is ocean acidification and why does it matter?
Excess CO2 dissolving in seawater forms carbonic acid, lowering pH, which harms coral reefs, shellfish, and marine food webs.
How does deforestation affect the carbon cycle?
It releases stored carbon as CO2 and removes trees that would otherwise absorb CO2 through photosynthesis.
What is the biological carbon pump?
The process by which marine organisms fix CO2 via photosynthesis and transport carbon to the deep ocean when they die and sink.
What is the difference between a carbon source and a carbon sink?
A source releases more carbon than it absorbs, e.g., burning fossil fuels. A sink absorbs more than it releases, e.g., growing forests.
What is El Niño?
A climate pattern where warmer than normal sea surface temperatures develop in the central and eastern tropical Pacific, affecting global weather.
What is La Niña?
The opposite of El Niño, cooler than normal sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern tropical Pacific.
What is ENSO?
El Niño, a southern oscillation, the coupled ocean-atmosphere cycle that alternates between El Niño, La Niña, and neutral phases every 2 to 7 years.
How does El Niño affect weather in the Americas?
It typically brings wetter conditions to the southern U.S. and South America, and drier conditions to Australia and Southeast Asia.
What is the Southern Oscillation Index, SOI?
A measure of the air pressure difference between Tahiti and Darwin, Australia. Negative values indicate El Niño, positive values indicate La Niña.
How does La Niña affect Atlantic hurricane activity?
La Niña reduces wind shear over the Atlantic, which tends to increase the number and intensity of hurricanes.
What is a hurricane?
A large rotating storm system with sustained winds of at least 119 km per hour, 74 miles per hour, forming over warm tropical ocean water, greater than or equal to 26.5 degrees Celsius.
What are the categories of the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale?
Category 1, 119 to 153 km per hour, to Category 5, greater than or equal to 252 km per hour, based on maximum sustained wind speed.
What is the eye of a hurricane?
The calm, clear center of the storm, surrounded by the eye wall, which contains the most intense winds and rainfall.
What is storm surge?
An abnormal rise in sea level caused by a hurricane's winds pushing ocean water ashore. It is often the most deadly aspect of a hurricane.
How do tornadoes form?
From severe thunderstorms when wind shear creates a rotating updraft, mesocyclone, that extends to the ground as a funnel.
What scale measures tornado intensity?
The enhanced Fujita (EF) scale, ranging from EF0, light damage, to EF5, incredible destruction.
What is Tornado Alley?
A region in the central United States, Great Plains, prone to frequent tornadoes due to the collision of warm, moist Gulf air and cold, dry Arctic air.
What is a derecho?
A widespread, long-lived straight-line windstorm associated with a fast-moving band of severe thunderstorms.
What is the heat index?
A measure of how hot it feels when relative humidity is combined with actual air temperature.
How does climate change affect sea levels?
Through thermal expansion of warming ocean water and melting of glaciers and ice sheets, sea levels have risen 20 cm since 1900.
What are the projected sea level rise scenarios by 2100?
Depending on emissions, sea levels could rise 0.3 m to over 1 m by 2100, IPCC estimates, threatening coastal communities.
How does climate change affect biodiversity?
Shifting habitats, altered migration patterns, coral bleaching, and increased extinction risk for species unable to adapt fast enough.
What is coral bleaching?
Stressed corals expel their symbiotic zooxanthellae algae, turning white, primarily caused by elevated sea temperatures.
How does climate change impact agriculture?
Through altered growing seasons, increased droughts and floods, heat stress on crops, and shifting pest and disease ranges.
What are climate refugees?
People forced to leave their homes due to climate-related events such as sea level rise, extreme droughts, or recurring natural disasters.
How does climate change affect the water cycle?
Warmer air holds more moisture, leading to more intense precipitation events in some regions and prolonged droughts in others.
What is permafrost thaw and why is it concerning?
Permanently frozen ground melting releases stored methane and CO2, creating a dangerous positive feedback loop that accelerates warming.
What is ocean stratification and how does warming cause it?
Warming surface waters become less dense, reducing vertical mixing with cooler deep water, limiting nutrient and oxygen circulation.
How does climate change intensify wildfires?
Higher temperatures, prolonged droughts, and drier vegetation increase the frequency, size, and severity of wildfires.
What are tipping points in the climate system?
Critical thresholds beyond which changes become self-reinforcing and irreversible, such as collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet.
What is climate change mitigation?
Actions to reduce or prevent greenhouse gas emissions, such as transitioning to renewable energy, improving efficiency, and protecting forests.
What is climate change adaptation?
Adjusting systems and practices to minimize harm from climate impacts, such as building sea walls, developing drought-resistant crops, and improving early warning systems.
What is carbon capture and storage, CCS?
Technology that captures CO2 from industrial sources or the atmosphere and stores it underground in geological formations.
What is a carbon tax?
A fee imposed on the burning of carbon-based fuels, designed to internalize the cost of CO2 emissions and incentivize cleaner alternatives.
What is a cap-and-trade system?
A market-based approach that sets a total emissions cap and allows companies to buy and sell emission allowances.
What are nature-based solutions for climate change?
Using ecosystems to sequester carbon and build resilience, including reforestation, wetland restoration, and sustainable agriculture.
What is the Paris Agreement?
A 2015 international treaty under the UNFCCC where nations agreed to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels.
What are nationally determined contributions, NDCs?
Each country's individual climate action plan outlining how it will reduce emissions and adapt, submitted under the Paris Agreement.
How many countries have signed the Paris Agreement?
196 parties, 195 countries plus the EU, have signed, making it one of the most widely adopted treaties in history.
What is the goal of net zero emissions?
Achieving a balance where the amount of greenhouse gases emitted equals the amount removed from the atmosphere.
What is the IPCC?
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a UN body that assesses the science related to climate change and publishes comprehensive assessment reports.
What is the UNFCCC?
The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the foundational international treaty, 1992, that established a framework for climate negotiations.
What is the significance of the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming target?
Beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, risks of severe impacts like coral reef loss, extreme weather, and food insecurity increase dramatically, IPCC Special Report, 2018.
What are Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions?
Scope 1, direct emissions, Scope 2, indirect from purchased energy, Scope 3, all other indirect emissions in a company's value chain.
What is solar photovoltaic, PV, energy?
Electricity generated by solar cells that convert sunlight directly into electrical current using the photovoltaic effect.
How do wind turbines generate electricity?
Wind spins the turbine blades connected to a generator, converting kinetic energy of moving air into electrical energy.
What is hydroelectric power?
Electricity generated by using the kinetic energy of flowing or falling water to spin turbines, typically at dams or run-of-river installations.
What is geothermal energy?
Energy derived from heat within the earth, used to generate electricity or provide direct heating via steam or hot water from underground reservoirs.
What is biomass energy?
Energy produced from organic materials, wood, crop waste, animal manure, through combustion, gasification, or anaerobic digestion.
What are the advantages of renewable energy over fossil fuels?
Lower greenhouse gas emissions, inexhaustible supply, reduced air pollution, energy independence, and declining costs.
What is the main challenge of solar and wind energy?
Intermittency. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow, requiring energy storage or grid balancing solutions.
What is energy storage and why is it important for renewables?
Technologies like batteries, pumped hydro, and hydrogen that store excess energy for use when renewable generation is low.
What is the global warming potential, GWP, of a gas?
A measure comparing the heat-trapping ability of a greenhouse gas to CO2 over a specific time period, usually 100 years.
What is albedo in climate science?
The reflectivity of a surface. Ice and snow have high albedo, reflect sunlight, while dark surfaces like oceans absorb more heat.
What is the jet stream and how does it affect weather?
A narrow band of fast-moving air in the upper troposphere that steers weather systems. Changes in its path can bring unusual cold or warm spells.
What is an atmospheric river?
A long, narrow corridor of concentrated moisture in the atmosphere that can deliver heavy precipitation when it makes landfall.
What is the urban heat island effect?
Cities are warmer than surrounding rural areas due to concrete, asphalt, reduced vegetation, and waste heat from human activities.
What is the dew point?
The temperature at which air becomes saturated and water vapor begins to condense into liquid water or dew.
What causes seasons on Earth?
The tilt of Earth's axis, 23.5 degrees, relative to its orbital plane, causing different hemispheres to receive varying amounts of solar radiation throughout the year.
What is an inversion layer and how does it trap pollution?
A layer of warm air above cooler air that prevents vertical mixing, trapping pollutants and smog near the ground.
What is the difference between weather forecasting and climate projection?
Weather forecasting predicts specific conditions days ahead. Climate projection models long-term trends over decades using emission scenarios.
What is the thermohaline circulation?
A global ocean conveyor belt driven by differences in water temperature and salinity, redistributing heat around the planet.
How could climate change disrupt thermohaline circulation?
Fresh water from melting ice sheets could dilute salty North Atlantic water, weakening the sinking that drives the circulation and cooling Europe.
What is a drought and what makes it a climate concern?
A prolonged period of below normal precipitation. Climate change increases drought severity and frequency in many regions.
What is desertification?
The degradation of land in arid areas into desert, driven by climate change, deforestation, and unsustainable farming practices.
What is the ozone hole and how is it different from the greenhouse effect?
The ozone hole is a thinning of stratospheric O3 caused by CFCs. The greenhouse effect involves trapping heat by different gases. They are separate issues.